Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 14th of January 2022, and I'm continuing to see a change in the narrative. You could call it perhaps a collapse in the narrative, but I saw Good Morning Britain, the morning TV show here in the UK, interviewing the doctor who questioned the Health Secretary Sajid Javid the other day about his stance on the Big V. And also I see that the BBC are looking to have some unV'd people on Question Time. That's something I've seen. I haven't really confirmed that yet, but I've seen that is the case. And it looks like these people who are kind of on our side are getting onto mainstream TV programs now to put our side of the argument across. Okay, the GMB thing, they were still pretty kind of anti the guy and kind of putting him down to some extent. They were giving him a reasonably sort of fair hearing, I thought, and it's a step in the right direction though, because until really only days ago they'd only let these sort of people onto these shows. Well, they either wouldn't hear them out at all, or if people did get on and air their kind of so-called anti-V views, they'd just literally get shouted and screamed at and ganged up upon and really demonised, where it's sort of coming down to heading towards a more kind of civilised debate, shall we say. So that's very much a change in direction, and I'd like to really put my thoughts as an anti-V person, or kind of at least someone who is not willing to partake in the sort of current treatments being offered. And I'd like to put my point across with one or two analogies. So the first analogy I'd say want to come out with is, just imagine you are on a plane with a couple of hundred other people, and you're about halfway through the flight, and the captain comes on and says something along the lines of, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid we've got a fault with the plane, a potentially pretty serious fault with the plane. We are heading towards the nearest airport for an emergency landing, and we are about 30 minutes out from that, and we have got a 99.9% chance of making it there safely and everybody getting off the plane safe and sound, but there is a 0.1% chance of everybody dying, the plane crashing and everybody getting killed. And we have got at the back of the plane a good supply of parachutes. They're not just any old normal parachute, they're a brand new technology of parachutes, and they've been tested out a little bit but not fully tested out. Normally we like to test a new design of parachute out for a good 5 years before bringing them onto the market, but these ones have been rushed through, and although they've kind of been through some trials, they haven't got to they haven't got their full approval, but nonetheless they're at the back of the plane. So if you want to don one of them and jump out the back of the plane, by all means please feel free to do so. And you're sitting there sort of thinking, probably not really believing the option there, but you're sitting there thinking, well, we've got a 99% chance of making it to the airport without too much problem. And these new type of parachutes sound a bit dodgy, to be honest. So I'm happy just to stay in my seat here. I'm just going to take a couple of simple precautions, just make sure my seatbelt's sort of fastened and sort of nice and tight, sort of the tray table's up and out the way, and sort of there's no bits and pieces around me which is going to sort of fly around if we do crash. And other than that, I'm just going to carry on reading my book and sort of wait until we land. And you're fully expecting everybody else to make the same kind of rational, reasoned choice, but to your horror, about 75% of the people, your fellow passengers on the plane, kind of stand up and start queuing down towards the back of the plane, putting these new parachutes on and jumping out the back of the plane. And you're thinking, what on earth is going on here? You, to be honest with you, you're quite bewildered. And you kind of, as the people are sort of going down beside you, queuing up, you're saying to a couple of them, yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, these parachutes, they, they're not fully tried and tested yet. And we do stand sort of a 99.9% chance of the plane landing safely. So why are you sort of going for the parachute option? I just don't understand it. And instead of giving you any kind of reasonable, logical argument, they're just they're just saying things like, well, yeah, what are you, mate? Are you sort of some sort of anti-parachuter? Or are you some kind of conspiracy theorist? Yeah, why don't you just sort of trust the parachute scientists? And you're just shaking your head, not really believing what's going on. And as you watch your fellow passengers sort of jumping out of the plane to hopefully a safe landing on the ground, but you do hear later that a couple of them, or a few of them at least, the parachutes didn't open, and well, they came to a sticky end. So that is been my take on the whole thing from day one. I just haven't seen any logical kind of reason to take the thing, and I think that analogy explains it. There are a couple of other arguments that the big V stops you from catching the thing. Well, so does a good regimen of exercise, healthy eating, healthy living, and taking certain vitamins daily, and maybe a couple of other well-known proven treatments on a daily or weekly basis. And if you do get something at the first sight of any symptoms, just upping those dosages, and that is another proven way of preventing itself from getting anything, as has been proven in places like India, Mexico, and quite a lot of other countries as well, where they have been taking that kind of course of action. And then there's the argument that the big V sort of doesn't, if you get the lurgy, should I say, the big V will mean that you don't get it as badly. Well, again, there's other treatments. There's a certain drug that starts with I, another drug that starts with H, and another vitamin which starts with C. And they all are proven to stop people from getting the lurgy as badly as well. But why is that never talked about on the mainstream media? And then there comes this other thing. Well, if you don't have the big V, it means you're more likely to transmit the lurgy if you get it. Well, that's been debunked. At best, it might reduce your transmissibility ability of the Lurgi for a very, very short period of time, just a matter of weeks. And there's many kind of experts out there who don't even think that's the case. It just has no effect on transmissibility whatsoever. And then of course you get this whole ridiculous argument, don't you, that, oh, you know, if you don't take the big V, my big V won't work as well. So you've got to sort of take yours, so mine will work properly. Well, I just think about that. That is nonsense, isn't it? You might as well say, if you're out there on the golf course playing golf and it starts raining and your golfing buddies put up their golfing umbrellas and they turn around and say to you, Tim, why aren't you putting up your umbrella? Because if you don't put it up, ours aren't going to work as well. And that is the level of the stupidity of that particular argument. And honestly, either the thing works or it doesn't. What I do has no bearing or relevance on you and what you've chosen to do whatsoever. So that is just utter ridiculous stupidity. And it's not just me saying that. Okay, I'm just an electrician and just calling these things out, but there are experts out there in the appropriate fields who also say what I've basically just said there. So if you wanted to know what someone on my side of the argument thinks about the whole big V situation, I hope I've given you a few pointers there. And I just want, especially if you're watching this video in months and years to come, hopefully that gives you a little bit of an understanding of where people like me have been coming from all these months. So I think I'll leave it there for now. No doubt be back sort of tomorrow with more thoughts. Tim from Fair Play Now, thanks for watching.